Welcome in to the Scoop Podcast, part of the Inside Carolina Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ross Martin, and I'm joined by Don Callahan. As I mentioned, this is the Scoop, UNC's #1 recruiting podcast in the world and part of the Inside Carolina Podcast Network, brought to you by Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. And before we start, I want to encourage everyone to rate, review, and subscribe to Inside Carolina Podcast wherever you get them. Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. Rate, review, subscribe. It really helps us. We'll talk more about Johnny T-shirt a little bit later in the show. Don, big time show, big time show. What's going on?
Not much. We always say we have a lot to talk about, but we really have a lot to talk about now. And I'm glad that you have a fresh haircut for today's podcast because I think it makes a difference. It makes you
Mm-hmm.
feel a little bit lighter,
Yeah, did it just for the show.
aerodynamic.
Big show means big haircut. I
You
want to, I
didn't
want
do it for any women.
just for you. Hey guys, I want to. I got on Don a little bit last time about his energy level, and I feel he's bringing it today. He's energized.
lots, lots of coffee.
He was in a low place 2 weeks ago, dark place, and he seems a little bit better, better personality, better energy today. So we're really gonna get into it. Let's kind of lay out what we're gonna talk about, Don. We've talked about this for a couple days. There's just so much happening in UNC football recruiting, especially with the 2022 class. We're gonna get into the Beau Atkinson commitment. He committed last week to UNC, the edge rusher from Raleigh. We're going to talk about the Showtime camp, which was last Saturday in Chapel Hill. Tons of news and notes from the Showtime camp. Make sure you check out Don's scoop from that camp. We're going to get into the official visitors from last weekend. UNC had three big time targets in the 2022 class that visited UNC on an official basis last weekend. And then we have UNC has official visitors this weekend. Five targets visiting UNC this weekend on an official basis, including our guy Travis Shaw, and then a couple more
It's your guy.
notes. Yeah, my guy
Hey,
Travis
did
Shaw.
you see? Did you see that Jamal Jarrett also transferred into Grimsley last week?
Yeah, we've been been tracking that. I mean, that guy's massive too, so we'll get into that too. I mean, UNC's gonna have. I mean, sorry, Grimsley's gonna have one of the better lines, defensive lines in the nation with the
Yeah.
talent of Jamal Jarrett and Travis Shaw. And then a couple more notes to close out the show before we get into our top 5 summer activities. The top 5 we gave you all about a month ago. Top 5 summer activities. We only got 3 or 4 submissions, but Don and I will carry it with our top 5 summer activities. And before we get into all this, the top 5 for next week is Don. You picked it. You choose.
Well, it was a collaboration. We kind of put our brains together. But anyway, it is a basically a check-in point. We're kind of sort of in the midway point of the recruiting cycle. So give us your top 5 needs to finish out this class. And what we mean by that, you can name players, you can say a specific position, or you can be a little bit creative with it in some way or another. But yeah, top 5 needs for the remainder of this class. And to submit your top 5, you can send it Twitter, just at me on at Don Callahan IC, DM me on Inside Carolina's message board, or if you must, you can email me, don@insidecarolina.com.
Perfect. Top 5 needs, top 5 wants. Who you really want UNC to get in the 2022 class, and that will be our topic for the top 5 next time we record. All right, Don, let's get into it. Beau Atkinson committed to UNC, becomes the 5th commitment in the 2022 class. An edge rusher, which is that new kind of position that 24/7 Sports created to include kind of that outside linebacker, edge rusher, defensive end type player. 6'6", 240 out of Leesville Road High School in Raleigh, North Carolina. Ranked number 360 in the nation, number 19 edge rusher, and number 11 player in the state of North Carolina. He was offered recently, took a couple official visits to some other schools, and came back and committed to the hometown school in UNC. Don, your kind of take on his recruitment, him as a player, and what this means for UNC's 2022 class.
So as soon as North Carolina offered him, and actually probably before UNC offered him, which they offered him earlier this month when he visited and participated in an individual workout for North Carolina. But once North Carolina started to kind of, I guess, recruit him because there was a time that North Carolina kind of fell back on him. And just talking to Beau and talking to his dad, I kind of felt like they were really interested in that. If North Carolina offered, even though they had basically their entire summer kind of planned out and a really nice game plan for coming up with a decision that excluded North Carolina initially, um, despite all that, I felt like if North Carolina ended offering him, North Carolina would become a major player in his recruitment and likely the landing spot because his parents valued the education, and then also his dad really liked the proximity to family. So, I kind of thought that they were going to take their all of their visits, finish out all of their plans for June, and then make a decision. But as you mentioned, midway through, after taking just a couple of visits, they decided to just kind of hit the brakes and make a commitment to North Carolina.
So why was he not offered earlier? He's a top 15 player in the state, a 4-star right down the road. Was that just a matter of the pandemic
Yeah,
and not being able to
because
see him in
so
person?
so he and so if you watch his, I guess it was his sophomore film, and you saw a kid with some potential. But he was skinny. He was a little bit awkward. He could beat guys with his speed, but lacked power. So when he went up against offensive linemen who were match his size, he really struggled against them. He also looked a little bit, for lack of a better term, kind of lost out there. Didn't know what to do. All that stuff, and someone must have gave him a list of things to work on between his sophomore and junior seasons. He worked on all of that. When I popped in his junior film to work on my NC top 50, which I had him in the top 10, I think it was number 7, something like that. I was just blown away by the progress he made because you saw a kid who added weight, which I saw in camp, but used that weight to where he was no longer being overpowered. He was overpowering offensive linemen. He was a lot more decisive in his play, and just more explosive and just a complete playmaker. And I think North Carolina saw that also, from what I gather, but because of the pandemic, they didn't see that until May because that's when his film was put together.
Okay.
Now, if not for the pandemic, the football season would have been held in the fall. North Carolina would have found out about his progress in October, November, and then things end up a lot differently in this recruitment. And this is just another example of just how the pandemic has really kind of affected this recruiting cycle.
6'6", 240. Is there a comparison for kind of another commitment that UNC's gotten in the past couple of years that he compares to? He's a
Oh
little
man,
bigger than some of the
yeah,
true outside linebackers that Jay Bateman's recruited. Seems like a guy who will play maybe more with his hand in the dirt. Or
yeah.
you tell me.
Let me kind of pull up some names right here. Man, I don't see like a great comparison. Just kind of looking at some of the recent guys North Carolina has signed. You know, I don't.
Like a Tamon Fox, like a Jalen
No,
Dalton.
no, no, because I feel like maybe I kind of lean towards Ritzy and Gabe Stevens, although Atkinson is not that athletic. Not a
Yeah.
knock on him. I mean, Ritzy and Stevens are just unbelievably athletic. But similar long guys, explosive sort of guys. Because he is, even though he's being recruited as an edge rusher, he is a little bit of a tweener, which is what kind of hurt him early on. Also, to where maybe he ends up being a 4 technique, which is kind of similar to Ritzy. Ritzy could be a 4. That's where but I guess the opposite. Ritzy is coming in as a 4, but could end up being the outside rush linebacker sort of thing. So I guess I would go in that direction. I really can't give you a great comparison on the guys that UNC has signed recently under Bateman.
Okay. Thanks for your time. All right. Moving on. Beau Atkinson commits to UNC last week. I believe it was on June 16th. He becomes the 5th commitment for the Tar Heels in the 2022 class, joining Trayvon Green, Tyshawn Chapman, Malik Hamrick, and Tayon Holloway. All right, moving on. The Showtime camp, Don. I read your scoop. Of course, if you're not an Inside Account subscriber, make sure to subscribe. There's deals all the time. So much intel on both football and basketball, recruiting, and then as we get closer to the season, there'll be more intel on actual team stuff from Greg and I. General takeaways from the camp, how it ran, how it looked, the vibes. What'd you think? I was not there, but we had it covered with Don and some interns and some other people.
Yeah, so I think the biggest news that came out of the Showtime camp was a lot of subscribers felt like you need to be replaced by Taylor
Oh wow, is that just that
because,
one comment?
well, there was a couple of comments, but Taylor and I did a little video segment afterwards where I felt like I was not on my A game. I probably wasn't even on my D game because of my mind's everywhere at that point. The camp had just ended. Some recruits are still leaving, so I'm still kind of watching out. So yeah, I didn't feel like, but I mean, Taylor is unbelievable at those sort of things. So I guess he probably carried me a little bit. But yeah, so what were your thoughts on the comments? And people think that you need to be replaced. You don't have a lot of you have a lot of people who don't like you.
I mean, I didn't even see. I don't see them. Like I don't. Lions don't concern themselves with the opinions of sheep.
Okay.
I mean, I don't. I didn't read it. So
Gotcha. Well, I enjoyed it. It made
okay. So
my night better.
takeaways from the actual football stuff. Not your
Oh,
new man crush on Taylor.
okay. The main thing, in all seriousness, Rico Walker, just absolute stud. I've seen Rico before, so I've already been blown away by just his physique before. I've seen it at a bunch of different camps and stuff. But I guess it kind of brought me back a little bit because a bunch of people, like you mentioned, we had a bunch of IC staffers there, and they literally came off the bus because what they did was everyone changed in the Keenan Football Center. They jumped on a bus, and the bus brought them to the the indoor practice facility. And when Rico came off the bus, it was just like even Taylor was just like, "Whoa, who is this guy?"
Yeah.
And then after that, I mean, he looked a little awkward in drills and everything, but what really stood out was he made Cason Henry. In the video, I said Cason Collins, who would not be out there. I think he's on an NFL practice squad right now. Cason Henry, who North Carolina has offered, Georgia is highly interested in. A bunch of other schools have offered. Rico Walker made him look foolish on back-to-back reps. Henry just couldn't compensate for Rico's agility and quickness, and he easily got back-to-back quote-unquote sacks during one-on-ones. He left there, then went to go play with the outside linebackers, where still look a little bit awkward, but his length and his athleticism carried him along, where he had an interception. That wasn't, I guess, enough for him, so he played a little bit tight end, and he caught a couple passes there, and then he went back with the one-on-ones, where he was eventually humbled by Monroe Freeling, who I think is going to be a borderline 5-star offensive lineman. But still, Rico, to me, was a standout of the entire camp, although there's plenty of others.
Okay. So Rico Walker. Some people might not know who he is. Class of 2023 from Hickory, North Carolina, Hickory High School. Edge rusher, 6'3", 225. Holds offers from Florida, Georgia, East Carolina, Arizona State, Appalachian State, Michigan, Mississippi State, North Carolina, Penn State, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Clemson. Oh, Clemson's not offered. Sorry, Virginia Tech and Virginia, among others. So a national recruitment already for the class of 2023 prospect. UNC's chances there. Where do they stand? And it seems like this guy will be. He's ranked number 88 overall, number 5 edge rusher, number 2 in the state of North Carolina. Going to be a top guy in that class, and particularly in North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't think that his field has truly been set yet. I think it's just so early. He took a bunch of visits. I don't know how much those, like, he took visits with one of those bus tours, and I don't know how much he's truly interested in some of those schools.
Yeah.
Obviously, North Carolina is going to be in play here, but I think that we have some time to wait to see who's actually going to be serious contenders in this race.
I can't remember the last time we had a Hickory. I don't know if I ever covered a prospect from Hickory.
No, I think the last time there was a linebacker, Austin Johnson. I can't believe I remember this name. And we're probably talking early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Gotcha. So, Showtime camp in general, how was it ran? How was it different? The vibes you felt? I mean, I felt like it had to be a little bit different just given the timing and the COVID stuff, not having one last year, the difference in who attended and where other big prospects were at other schools. Any general takeaways?
Yeah, the main difference, and you know this, the prior Showtime camps or freak show camps were mostly the current class where the prospects were there, and that was the emphasis. But because of COVID and all all of the current class taking a bunch of official visits and trying to make a decision and all that, there wasn't. There were some 2022s, but it was mostly underclassmen. And we talked about Rico Walker. That's a great example. Those were I guess the main guys that we kind of focus on. So that was the main difference. So there was no who's next sort of thing that concluded at the camp or anything like that. And there was nothing set up like that, just because most of the guys there, it's really early in their recruitments.
I remember that Fedora Who's Next thing. That was awesome.
Yeah.
The end of Fedora's Freak Show,
When
if they had a couple people committed or planning
yeah.
to commit, one guy would commit, and Fedora would be like, "Who's next?" And a couple other guys would commit to try to create a little momentum with 2 or 3 guys to 4 guys to commit one time.
I feel like that only really worked one year. And all the other years, like the one year, remember there was like a little kid that kind of came up,
yeah, but
you
he
know.
turned out to be a big time running back.
Yeah, there was that time. Yeah, that was LeBourne.
Yeah,
But there was another time where there was another like little kid that came up who I don't think materialized into anything. But yeah,
yeah,
LeBourne did try to commit in his quarterback, and that's when they were like sophomores or something like that.
yeah. It's funny. Okay, so Showtime camp. Anything else you want to talk about that before we get into the official visitors from last weekend, who were kind of part of that weekend visitors and recruiting weekend?
Not really. I urge everyone to go and look at our scoop from that. Gregory helped me out a ton on that, and having two sets of eyes there was super beneficial for the readers and subscribers, because we covered a bunch of different guys and got a bunch of different um, I guess scoop on their recruitment. So definitely check out what we posted from Saturday.
And there was a quarterback guy there, a couple quarterbacks there too, right? I mean, especially one that could be one of UNC's main targets, correct?
Yeah, Connor Harrell. I
Talk about
think
him later.
yeah, we have him also. Tad Hudson. There was some weird, like, well, maybe it was just one guy kind of made some posts about how he didn't look so good, but
Who?
Tad Hudson,
Okay.
who's a 2023 quarterback, but just watching him, I mean, he just such an effortless throwing. I mean, he just throws it like 60 yards down the field without a problem and dropping the ball down. I thought it looked really, really good in from what I saw, the reps I saw. I'm not watching every single rep, but I
And,
will go back because we did film it. So we do have. I probably should mention that we have a bunch of video from that I still haven't gone through yet, because we have stories still being posted from that. But we'll get to that, and you'll be able to see for yourself how everyone looked.
and among the visitors of note, I mean, you had some commitments who were there, including Beau Atkinson. Did he work out?
He did not. He
Okay.
did not work out.
Tayshawn Chapman was there, commitment.
Yeah, and he was another
Uh,
one of the standouts.
yeah, the wide receiver from Virginia Beach. Travion Green, the massive offensive lineman from Virginia, was
Mm-hmm.
there. Tayon Holloway was. You had all the commitments there, I believe,
Except
except for
Malachi Hamrick.
Malachi Hammer.
He had a 7-on-7 with his team.
And some names you'll recognize, like Tad Hudson, who is is looking like the main target for quarterback in the 2023 class. Jamal Jarrett was there from Greensburg Grimsley. We already mentioned him as a big time target in the 2023 class. He visited on an unofficial basis a couple of weeks ago. Bryson Jennings. I mean, all these are on the scoop. Kind of search for it now. Showtime Camp Scoop. A lot of live updates as well through Don's time there. I'm just kind of scrolling through some of the stuff now. We'll get into a lot of the official visitors that were there. Of course, Rico Walker, a lot of stuff there from Don in that post. Okay, let's take a quick break. Talked about Johnny T-shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com. When we return, we're going to talk about the official visitors that visited North Carolina last weekend. We'll follow that with next weekend's visitors, which is the last time prospects can visit schools and visit UNC until July, I believe. And then we'll have a couple more notes to close out the podcast.
Well, it's important to mention July. No official visitors, just unofficial. So official visits won't continue or won't resume until September.
Great. Okay, Johnny T-shirt, JohnnyT-shirt.com, right on Franklin Street, and online at JohnnyT-shirt.com. That's the letter T. A great look at some of the T-shirts here on the website. They have a big time sale for the summer with up to 70% off a lot of their gear. A lot of jerseys. Get your jersey ready. Get the retro jerseys ready. Get the Nike Jordan jerseys ready. Basketball jerseys for the tailgate, for those first few games in Chapel Hill. Get everything you need for a tailgate on Johnny T-shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com. And remember, all Inside Carolina subscribers get 10% off with the code right there on the top tar pit and UNC basketball message boards. It's a local store, locally owned. The store is right on Franklin Street. Their headquarters and warehouse is down there in Hillsboro, just miles away from Chapel Hill. So support a local company that needs our support as companies kick into gear here, post kind of the shutdown. And we want to definitely support Johnny T-shirt and johnnyt-shirt.com. A great place to get gifts. I mean, you can walk in there, get everything you need for birthdays, anniversaries, get you a wedding gift there, anything for the ones you love. Look, they have adult, children, headwear, jerseys, accessories, home and office, kitchen, stuff for your car. And of course, all the different sports are recognized. Johnny T-shirt and johnnyt-shirt.com. We'll be right back, pay a couple bills with some national ads. When we get back, we'll talk about all the official visitors from last weekend and this weekend here on The Scoop, presented to you by Johnny T-shirt and, of course, part of the Inside Carolina Podcast Network. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, and thanks for hanging around. This is the Scoop Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Martin, joined, of course, by Don Callahan. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe. And, guys, we're not live. We're recording on YouTube as well. So we posted on your podcast feeds and, of course, also on YouTube. So subscribe to our YouTube page if you want to watch us, watch what we're doing. And then, of course, we have a lot of great content on YouTube, all the interviews, all the highlight videos that Don makes, all our good stuff. Any content that's video or visual, of course, goes to our YouTube page, Inside Carolina. So make sure to follow us, like us there. All right, Don, how you feeling?
I am feeling great.
Okay. Are you
I've
more relaxed now? I think kind of slowed down a little bit.
the coffee is starting to lose its effects, so maybe I just crash and just fall asleep.
There you go. How how's your summer going? Are things slowing down now with recruiting, or are things still kind of in the depths of it?
So yeah, I mean, I feel like the Showtime camp was like a major hump, and so since then I've been able to kind of catch up on everything, and I mean we'll get into it later on the podcast, but there's a big official visit weekend this weekend that I'm preparing for and have to do a lot for, but
Mm-hmm.
this week is a lot easier where I'm able to kind of catch my breath and
You said no more camps.
well, there's a specialist camp in July, which everyone will
Okay.
be like, oh, who cares? But UNC will most likely scholarship a kicker, so that camp is fairly significant for those purposes.
Great. Actually, John Siegley is messaging me on Slack. Let me respond to him real
Uh-oh.
quick.
Speaking of being a kicker.
Okay, cool. That was kind of some stuff we got to deal with. All right, great. Let's get into it. That's part of live podcasting. You never know what's going to happen here. We're working with it.
We just hope John edits that part out.
He doesn't have to. All right, let's get into the official visitors for last weekend. That was kind of during the Showtime camp, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We had 3 at UNC. Offensive lineman Fisher Anderson. Um, we had defensive end, edge rusher Bryson Jennings, and wide receiver Andre Green. Don, let's talk about Fisher Anderson first. Let me pull up his profile, and we'll go from there. This guy is from Tennessee, a 6'7", 270-pound offensive tackle from Franklin, Tennessee, which is south of Nashville, class of 2022. He's number 233 ranked player in the nation. It's pretty high, 4-star guy. And number 22 offensive tackle, number 6 in the state of Tennessee. Don, what's going on with his recruitment? What's going on with him and UNC? And how was this visit based on what you've got from him?
So he's taken a very methodical approach to his recruitment, which began actually earlier this year, where he took a bunch of quarantine visits to schools, including North Carolina. He saw most of the schools that he wanted to see during that period, and then kind of sort of narrowed things down to 4: North Carolina, Northwestern, Stanford, and Virginia. And then just kind of nice and neatly kind of scheduled official visits to those 4 schools in the 4 weekends in June. North Carolina was the 3rd of those 4 visits. He'll finish it off with Stanford this coming weekend. He might squeeze in a couple of unofficial visits, but he was very candid in saying that it's very unlikely that those schools are make any sort of impact in his recruitment. I mean, you can tell just by looking at schools, he's focusing on academic schools.
Yeah.
And, he's going to use the summer to kind of figure out what exactly he wants. And then also which school that he officially visited has that. And then we'll decide sometime this summer as far as like when he'll actually announce it. That's a little bit up in the air. But as far as North Carolina is concerned, I mean, he said all the right things. He's a smart kid, so he's not going to tip his hand at all. He enjoyed the weekend, enjoyed going to the Showtime camp, enjoyed spending some time with offensive line coach Stacey Sherrills.
Okay, so UNC has one commitment already in Travion Green for the 2022 class,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going after, of course, Zach Rice,
Mm-hmm.
who's a tackle.
Mm-hmm.
What's the deal there with kind of and they got another offensive lineman visiting this weekend. What's kind of the move here, the plan here for UNC and how they handle this?
Well, like you said, they have one committed, and they've, at least talking to my sources, UNC seems to be going back and forth on whether they need to add one more or two more to this class. And we'll get to them later on when we talk about official visitors this coming weekend. But UNC did offer another offensive lineman this month to kind of expand their board a little bit. Yeah, so it's a little bit up in the air on what's going to happen, and I think we're just kind of have to watch it kind of play out. I mean, obviously they're going to add one more to this
Yeah,
class, and it's just a matter of will there be two more.
yeah. So they're covering their bases. Got a couple people in the hopper trying to figure out who pops first and go from there.
Yeah,
Okay, Fisher Anderson on an official visit to UNC last weekend. Go over his schools right now. You said he's visiting Stanford next weekend. And who are the
yep.
other schools in play?
He started off June with an official visit to Northwestern, and then the following weekend officially visited Virginia, and then obviously North Carolina this past weekend.
Okay, great. Bryson Jennings, 6'6", 235, edge rusher from Clover Hill High School in Midlothian, Virginia. Three-star guy, 426 in the nation, 22 ranked edge rusher, number 13th player in the state of Virginia. He visited UNC officially last weekend. What's going with his recruitment? What's going with him and UNC? Bryson Jennings.
So he, surprisingly came out with the top 5 earlier this month, and that was Virginia Tech, North Carolina, Virginia, Penn State, Kentucky. Everyone has known for a while now that this was going to come down to Virginia Tech and UNC. He formally told me that was the case coming out of his UNC official visit this past weekend. He officially visited Virginia Tech the first weekend of June, and so now he kind of goes into decision mode, which he wasn't exactly sure. He said soon, and he couldn't give me a definition for what soon meant. So by the time someone hears this, he could have made a decision, or I mean, maybe it could be a couple months before he makes a decision. The main item that I have to mention with Jennings is that his dad played at Virginia Tech, played tight end at Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech's defensive line coach, J.C. Price, was teammates with his dad. So that adds, an interesting element. A lot of UNC fans are like, whoa, why would anyone go to Virginia Tech? That's a dumpster fire, blah, blah, blah. But if there's anyone who can look past the sinking ship and see some sort of silver lining or positivity, it's a legacy kid whose dad's former teammate is on staff there.
For sure, for sure. Bryson J. I mean, is he? So they already have one edge rusher in a very similar frame committed. Are they looking to take two?
Yeah, at least
And
one more.
Malachi
Well,
Hamrick is
actually,
one
I'm
too,
sorry.
right?
Take that back. So they are good right now with Malachi Hamrick and Beau Atkinson, but
Yes.
for a guy that they view as elite, and Bryson Jennings, I know his ranking, and I think some of this is the fact that he doesn't go to any camps. His school isn't the greatest at kind of promoting their kids, their recruits, even though his dad is the head coach there. I think he's better than high 3-star, which is what he's ranked. UNC does too. UNC feels he's an elite guy and would make room for him. They definitely would make room for an elite guy at the edge rusher position in this class, but they are comfortable with, if need be, having a class with just Atkinson and Hamrick.
Okay, cool. Hamrick, man, I saw him in person. He's not he's pretty tall, but he's not a big dude yet.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
So
skinny, which is what kind of scared away a lot of programs.
yeah,
And I mean, even though he's probably like 6'3", he's not 6'6" like Beau Atkinson.
yeah, he's not. When you see him, he's like, okay, he's bigger than most, but definitely not doesn't stand out
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
significantly. Yeah,
But he's long, and I mean, he's just an absolute playmaker for one of the top programs in the state,
there
Shelby
you
High
go.
School.
Yeah, Shelby High School definitely a good place to get your prospects from. All right, wide receiver Andre Green. We've heard his name. We've talked about him a lot before. Pulling up his profile here. Andre Green, wide receiver, 6'3", 175, from St. Christopher's School in Richmond, Virginia. That's the hometown of UNC defensive coordinator Jay Bateman.
Right.
Number 154 ranked player in the nation. Number 22 wide receiver. Number 5 player in Virginia. You're talking about a pretty elite, high ranked recruit, a 24/7 sports composite, 4-star. He visited UNC officially last weekend. Don.
Yeah, so while the other two we just talked about, they have very nice and neat recruitments, either 4 schools are focusing on or 2 schools are focusing on. Green has like a top 15, and he is adamantly stating that he's considering all of them. And really, if you look, he has lived up to his promise on visiting a lot of these schools, whether it be officially or unofficially. I mean, he's taken a ton of visits this month and has a bunch more planned coming up, has some planned for July, even has an official visit scheduled for the football season. So he's a little bit all over the place. Regardless of who you talk to, who's involved in this or covering this recruitment, they all say North Carolina is definitely one of the main contenders. I didn't speak directly to Green following the official visit. He declined an interview, but fortunately for me, his father was willing to do an interview. So, and fathers are obviously approach interviews a little bit differently, a little bit more, not getting so super excited with things and kind of more dry and to the point with certain things. But definitely made it clear that North Carolina is a major player here.
Okay, Andre Green. There you have it. Those are your 3 official visitors from last weekend. Let's get into the 5 players, and I think we'll do a little bit briefer on this, kind of run through the 5 players visiting UNC officially this coming up weekend. Pretty big deal. And some names, honestly, I have not heard of yet. Let's start with the quarterback, Don Connor Harrell from Alabama, a more recent offer. He actually was at UNC this weekend as well and took part in the Showtime camp. If he does come again, that'll be 2 back-to-back visits. That's certainly a good sign for his interest in UNC. 6'1", 191, 24/7 sports composite, 3-star prospect, and the kind of the lone outstanding offer for a quarterback in this class of the Tar Heels.
Yeah, so this is the one official visit that might not actually take place. And the reason, and this is why he visited this past weekend, is that he had a 7-on-7 with his high school team that was scheduled for this past weekend that was postponed to this weekend. And it's basically up to his high school coach on whether to take part in the 7-on-7. There's some of his teammates. His team is absolutely loaded. Some of his teammates are in a similar situation where they had visits scheduled for this weekend and would prefer not to cancel them. But Thompson High School, which is located in Alabama, in the highest classification, won the state championship last year. They take football very, very, very seriously. They take their high school team very seriously. So if they play that 7-on-7, the quarterback for sure will be there. Anyway, with all that said, he has it narrowed down to 4 schools: Michigan, North Carolina, Northwestern, and Arizona State. He took official visits to those last 2 schools and has set the 4th of July as his decision date.
4th of July. Okay. So he won't visit any other schools between now and then if it's other than UNC.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, it seems pretty good that he could be UNC's quarterback commitment in this class.
Yeah, things look very promising for North Carolina.
Okay.
Check out the
Connor
weekly scoop for more on that.
Connor Harrell, potentially visiting UNC this coming up weekend, but already has been UNC last weekend and probably saw a lot of things they needed to see last weekend and took place in the Showtime camp. What kind of quarterback is he? Can you talk about his game a little bit?
Yeah, so I think people look at him and think maybe he's more of a athletic guy, running guy, but he's not. He's definitely, I think he completed like 72% of his passes this past season for Thompson High School, which again, big time program in Alabama. He also had like an unbelievable touchdown to interception ratio. I think it was like 42 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. So this is a guy who definitely takes care of the ball, and is reliable, a very accurate passer.
Okay, great. Dalen Everett, we've heard about him before. Cornerback, 6'1", 185 from IMG Academy, but he's a native of Virginia Beach,
Hmm.
right? And he's number 40 in the nation, so a very high ranked number 40 in the nation, number 7 cornerback in the nation, number 7 ranked player in the state of Florida. He's visited UNC a couple times now, I think, and he's visiting officially this weekend. Don, it seems like there's some positive vibes going on between him and UNC. What's your take?
Yeah, so this is a guy who, at I think it was like a month ago, was actually a 5-star. So he's right on that border, that bubble for being a 5-star and 4-star. So I think it's doesn't tell the whole story when we label him a 4-star. But anyway, so
Mhm.
he's kind of squeezing in all of his official visits in these last couple of weeks. He started with Georgia this past weekend. As we record this, he's officially visiting Florida State, and then this weekend he'll be at North Carolina. Clemson's also involved. He took a visit to Clemson earlier in the month. He doesn't have like a set official visit date, but he has to report back to IMG on July 17th. I expect him to commit before then. I'm not saying he will. I think some people on the message board mistook what I said and said that he's going to decide before then. I just anticipate that. Um, and yeah, I mean, you mentioned the connection with the Tidewater area, how he lives there, that, how his family lives there. That obviously has helped North Carolina kind of be a major player here because of Dre Bly. What also needs to be mentioned is that his older brother, Donovan, has just enrolled, will be playing football for Elon, which is just 30 minutes down Interstate 40 from Chapel Hill, which I think will play a role here. Whether consciously or subconsciously, I think it plays a role.
And so he is a freshman, a rising freshman
Yeah.
at Elon.
Yeah. He just moved into his dorm. And actually, while they were helping him move in on the way back, they stopped by North Carolina just because they're just driving past North Carolina.
There you go. That's the kind of scoop you get from Don Callahan here on the Scoop podcast. All right, let's move along quickly here. Marcus Allen, that's a new name for me. Cornerback Marcus Allen, 6'2", 165 from Marietta, Georgia, 370 in the nation, 33 quarterback, number 35 in the state of Georgia, and a 24/7 Sports 3-star guy visiting UNC officially this coming up weekend.
Yeah, so he's another nice and neat recruitment, and that kind of happened naturally. He's I guess started the second week of July, officially visited Georgia Tech, where his brother plays, then officially visit Auburn this past weekend, and will officially visit North Carolina this coming weekend. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, and when he does, he doesn't say a whole lot. But this will come down to these 3 schools, and I think North Carolina has a really good chance with him.
Okay, so they're going after Everett. They're going after Marcus Allen. They have a cornerback committed, and they're obviously going after the other guy from South Carolina, whose name escapes me,
Uh, uh,
Jaden Lucas.
Jaden Lucas, yep.
Boom.
And
So
then you got
what's
Jake Pope in there also.
yeah, but he's a safety. He's true safety, right?
Okay, so Allen is a safety.
Ah, okay. He's
Yeah.
listed as a cornerback.
Yes. So he plays cornerback in his high school, also plays cornerback for Hustle Inc., which is one of the top 7-on-7 programs in the nation. But UNC is recruiting him as a safety. And after kind of seeing him in a couple camps, I think that's probably the right position for him.
6'2", good size there. Okay, great. So he's one of the major safety targets for UNC, and you think he's kind of a UNC lean?
I don't know if I would go that far in assuming that, but I think that this is North Carolina has a good shot with him.
Okay. His brother goes to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and he downplays that, but who knows how much of an impact that will really have, especially since it's like right down the street from where he lives.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Okay.
the other thing I surprised to mention is his brother, who was much more highly recruited, originally signed with Notre Dame, for whatever reason transferred back home to Georgia Tech. You got to wonder how much of an impact that will play with the family when it comes decision time.
Okay, good stuff there. All right, moving right along. Caden Helms, new name for me. Caden Helms, pull up his profile here. 2022 class, tied in, 6'5", 22 from Bellevue, Nebraska. Ranked 383 in the nation, number 16 tight end, number 4 player in the state of Nebraska. Pretty random. He's got oth- officials to Arizona State, Miami, Oklahoma, Auburn, and UNC this weekend.
I'm glad you have to pronounce the cities in some of these places because I mean I would guess I'm assuming you're right, but I mean some of these I would guess and probably butcher them. But yeah, he is the only. Well, there's Oscar Delp is out there, but he's really the only tight end that UNC has offered that they're seriously recruiting. I mean they're recruiting Delp, but Delp's probably won't even visit North Carolina. But great kid to talk to. The one thing I love is that he has probably the most diverse official visit schedule that you'll ever find. Arizona State, Miami, Oklahoma, Auburn, North Carolina. I think that's, well, maybe just 3 time zones. And what, 4 different conferences, bunch of different temperatures, climates, weather, all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. I mean, different locations, everything. But anyway, so he has even a lot of people think well the crystal balls are pointing towards Oklahoma. It's obviously the closest school, very similar to Nebraska. He has told me he wants to experience something different, which could mean North Carolina, could mean Arizona State. So it's going to be interesting to see what he says coming out of this visit. The other thing to remember with him is that he's another one who's squeezing in a bunch of official visits in a short period of time. I think within a 10-day span, he is taking official visits to Oklahoma, Auburn, and North Carolina. And North Carolina being the end of that, how much of that is going to, the burnout is going to affect his UNC visit.
Whew. Don, you're on fire today. I mean, we're running through it.
Lot,
Yeah. I mean, that's
lots of coffee.
five in a row official visits. It's just, I mean, how do you get involved with a guy from Nebraska like that? Like, would you know kind of how they got in with this guy?
So I asked him about that, and he wasn't 100% sure. But I mean, huddle stuff is all over the place. You can easily get to it. But just kind of doing some research, he is the only Nebraska prospect that North Carolina has offered during the internet era. So this is a kind of unique situation.
Yeah, those states out there, Nebraska and Kansas and Missouri, and whew, that's flatlands and Midwest.
Yeah. Have you ever been out?
I've driven all the way through. I've actually, I don't think I've ever driven. I might have driven through Nebraska on one trip to Colorado, but my last trip to Colorado, I drove through Tennessee, Missouri, Kansas, Colorado.
I had to drive. Wait. This is way back. This is like mid 2000s. I had to go out north. People remember. God, what was his name? Last name was Williams. He was a safety JUCO guy that North Carolina eventually signed. Melvin Williams. I could not get. I think the closest airport was Tulsa, but the closest for my time frame that I could get was like Kansas City. So I flew into Kansas City, spent the night, and then drove like 3 or 4 hours to Coffeyville, Kansas,
Mm.
which was somewhat boring, but super interesting for me because when they say it's flat. And
Oh
like
yeah,
it's one of those things that you can't truly appreciate until you're driving and you just look out and just see nothing for miles. And it was cool one time experience, wouldn't do it again, but I love that I did it one time.
yeah. Kansas is certainly flat, and Nebraska's north. I mean, it's cold too out there. There's no windbreak. Those states, those the Midwest area, going to the Dakotas, getting to Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin. I mean, whew. All
Yeah.
right. We just got a weird text. Okay. Caden Helms, interesting name to follow, to look at. All the crystal balls have him slotted for Oklahoma, tied in out of Bellevue, Nebraska. All right, moving right along. We got 2 more. It's the 6 players officially visiting this weekend, a massive official visit weekend. Offensive lineman Justin Kanyuk.
Or Canuck. I
Canuck.
don't know.
Canuck.
I don't know. I had to ask him. I should have when I talked to him. Yeah.
6'5", 290 from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Not ranked by 24/7 Sports Composite, but he's number 78 by 24/7 Sports. Sorry, 78 offensive tackle, number 19 player in Pennsylvania. What's going on there, John? All right, Don.
Ooh. Whoa.
Whoa.
Talk about insults. So heading into the month, he had just a bunch of FCS Group of Five offers. He has some Ivy League school offers, so definitely good offers, but no Power Five. Visits North Carolina and participates in an individual workout similar to what Beau Atkinson did. Scores a scholarship from North Carolina. Does the same at Maryland and Virginia. He did also visit Penn State and Florida. Did not get offers from those schools. North Carolina really likes this guy, and so I believe in an effort to kind of get a commitment out of him before things potentially get a little bit out of control with his recruitment. Bring him in for an official visit this coming weekend, and so we'll see kind of what happens from that. But I think North Carolina, obviously being the only school he's officially visiting this month, has to give them a little bit of an advantage.
Okay. And this goes along with that offensive lineman recruiting we talked about. Fisher Anderson last weekend, of course, going after Zach Rice. Already have a commitment from Travion Green. And isn't that what's the other guy? Connor, Caden. Cason
Wait,
Henry.
Case and Henry. Okay, yeah.
He was the Showtime camp, right?
Yes.
Big time offensive tackle, or not big time, but a significant offensive tackle guy. All right. Let's keep going here as we look at the list.
Last but not least.
Okay. Travis Shaw. We all know his name. Defensive line, 6'5", 310, maybe more. Grimsley High School in Grimsley, North Carolina, in Greensboro, North Carolina. Number 9 overall. Number 4 defensive lineman. Number 1 in the state of North Carolina. Don, he's taking an unofficial to UNC, an official to Georgia last weekend, an unofficial visit for Clemson's kind of elite camp the weekend before that, and now returns to UNC for an official visit. So what's going on there? What vibes have you gotten speaking to him and his camp after seeing all 3 schools and now coming back to UNC for an official visit?
Yeah, so I haven't spoken to anyone yet since he officially visited Georgia. Travis doesn't make himself available, although he's willing to do interviews, but he doesn't make himself available to do interviews. I did go by his school last week, spent the afternoon with him. He's awesome to hang out with. He's just not a big phone guy, so which is why he doesn't do the interviews. But anyway, so right after that visit, he came out with his top 4, which Clemson, Georgia, North Carolina, and North Carolina. Are you getting tired over there?
No, multitasking.
Okay. And North Carolina A&T. Hey, by the way, I'm sure you saw the North Carolina A&T stuff. Your thoughts on him including North Carolina A&T?
Love it, man. That's my hometown. It's a big part of the city. I think it's kind of a cool little gesture. Great marching band, and it's a cool part of Greensboro for him to include the local HBCU school is a neat addition among the giants of Georgia, Clemson, and UNC.
Yeah. So with him, for a while there, it seemed like he was just going to kind of just stroll along this summer and not really do a whole lot of stuff for his recruitment. And then boom,
Mm-hmm.
now it feels like we're kind of like in late in the fourth quarter for him. And this could be North Carolina could get the last at bat, to use another analogy to sports, with him before he makes his decision. If he does indeed intend on making a commitment this summer, he hasn't committed to a commitment time frame at all. He has mentioned it could be the summer. He could wait for the season. So that will be kind of interesting. But you got to think, if he does it in the summer, that gives North Carolina a little bit of advantage since it was the last school that he would have seen.
Okay, so who's leading? What are there any vibes you're getting? Is there anything that because you said you hung out with him? You went over there and hung out
Yeah.
with him?
So I'll
I'd
tell you
love to
that
see you and Travis hang out together.
we drink Coke, hold hands, high fives.
Jeez.
He really is a great kid. That whole group over there are great. The coaching staff over there in Grimsley are awesome. Anyway, I honestly, when I was there, I felt like that he was truly torn.
Okay.
And that anybody who says they know what he's going to do is lying. Now, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that I have probably been around Travis more than any other reporter. And so it just kind of frustrates me sometimes when you have people come out and be like, oh, he's leaning here, he's a silent here. Because I just don't get that vibe. I think he's truly torn, and that the reason that he sped things up with his recruitment is more of a byproduct of just being a little bit burnt out and wanting to kind of just get it over with.
Is Georgia going to be too far away from family and friends, you think? Do you think that plays a
I
role at all?
He says it doesn't.
Okay.
Um, I don't think so. I don't think. Well, how far is Athens from
5 6 hours
Greensboro?
maybe.
Yeah. So I mean, it's very 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 doable.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not much of a factor.
Okay. And anything on Clemson worth mentioning? I mean, he hasn't visited there officially. He's only done the elite thing, which elite camp or whatever, elite day, which probably had a lot of kind of same factors that a official visit
Yeah,
carries, right?
I mean, it absolutely is. And I mean, it starts on Friday, just like an official visit would, ends and ended on Sunday, with just like an official visit would. They did a lot of the same things, but obviously, the recruits had to pay. The other thing is that I think Clemson had like a dozen recruits, and they were all like 4 stars or higher, and their top targets. That probably plays some sort of impact on him, being down there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, great. Athens is 4 hours and 30 minutes from Greensboro, 282 miles, right through Charlotte, through Spartanburg, through Greenville, and then into Athens. Okay.
Sounds good.
Let me do Clemson real quick. Greensboro to Clemson is 3 hours and 38 minutes, 221 miles. Okay, so I mean I mean it can get annoying. Not awful, but not ideal. And let's put in Keenan Stadium. How about that? Home of the Tar Heels. Greensboro to Keenan Stadium. Look at that. 57 minutes at 1:09 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon. 51.1 miles. It takes me, Ross Martin, exactly an hour from my door in Southern Chapel Hill to my parents' door in about a mile from Grimsley. I grew up about a mile from Grimsley High School. Travis Shaw and I, it's not much different from our how we grew up.
Yeah, he's a swimmer too.
All right, went to same middle school too. How about that?
Ah, I did not know that. What middle school?
Kaiser Middle School.
Okay.
All right, good stuff, Don. All right, we're gonna quick hitters here. Deuce Caldwell, he is a recruit for UNC in the. So those are the official visitors.
Yes.
Those six. Thanks for staying with us. That was a lot, but if you're into UNC football recruiting, that's why you're here. That's why you're listening. That's why you're getting the scoop. So hopefully you stayed on and broke down last week's officials, this week's officials. Now we're getting to some quick tidbits. Deuce Caldwell, a safety. He's visited UNC recently, right? 6'1", 210 from Malden, South Carolina. A not very high ranked 24/7 Sports Composite 3-star safety slash linebacker. I think. What's going on there, Don, with Deuce?
So UNC views him strictly as a linebacker. Technically, he plays safety at Malden High School, but they basically use him as a linebacker. That's where his skill set matches. He officially visited with his parents last week, and initially wouldn't say a whole lot about where things sat, when he might make a decision, all that. He has since come out and kind of hinted at a commitment is coming. He tweeted out I think it was a poster. I just saw it right before we got on here. So, tweeted out I think it was a poster from the movie Friday. So maybe that's a hint.
Wow.
Yeah. Or maybe he's just a big fan of Ice Cube.
Yeah, great detective work there. Um, okay, cool. Deuce, and this guy UNC would take him and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, linebacker, middle linebacker,
Yeah, he's an inside
inside
linebacker.
linebacker. And you do like his tape and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody says kind of the same thing about him, is that he's not a guy who's going to blow you away with his times or his measurables, but he's just a dude who just plays. Very instinctive, very decisive. Just plays hard. He's going to leave it out on the field, sort of thing. I guess basically an overachiever sort of type.
Okay, and Xavier Simmons has committed to Virginia Tech, an athlete, edge rusher, outside linebacker type player, 6'3", 235. A 4-star according to 24/7 Sports, but a 3-star by 24/7 Sports Composite. Wow, I can't talk there. Xavier Simmons committed to Coastal Vision rival Virginia Tech. Anything of note there to touch on? No, he was a UNC target at one point.
Yeah, so I think the timing, especially if you know what was going on, but that time makes some sense. So he was, so it was reported, and I believe those reports because from what I was gathering beforehand, that NC State had informed him that that his offer was no longer committable. Um, right before he committed to Virginia Tech, I was told that he was told his UN that UNC was canceling his official visit. So I let you guys kind of connect the dots because I don't want to make it sound like, oh, you know, this is sour grapes. North Carolina wanted this kid, sort of thing. I mean, if you want to believe that, then so be it. But yeah,
All right. That's all I need to say. Northwestern Guilford prospect committed to Virginia Tech. Once a kind of a UNC target there. Okay. That's it for the football portion of the podcast. We touched on a lot of players. Thanks for staying on and listening to this. It was just a massive 2 weeks of news, and we had to touch on a lot of different players. Let's get in our top five. Again, the top five for next week is kind of a reset of the 2022 class and your top five targets. Now that some things have changed, with positions and needs and who UNC may be kind of in it for. Give us your top five wants, needs for the 2022 class for UNC. All right. And now we're going to go through our top five summer activities. All right. Don, let's get into it. You have your five ready?
yeah. Want to read the three that we have?
We do. I have four written down. So
You have four?
I have three written down.
Okay.
Sorry, I have four written down. I need to get a fifth. All right, let's
Oh,
go
oh,
through it.
oh, oh. Okay. All right. Do you want to read first? Or you want me to read first?
I'll read one and three. You read Dale.
Okay. Go
All
for
right.
it.
John from Lynchburg. 5, wakeboarding. 4, cookouts. 3, jumping off a rock into some semi-dangerous swimming hole. I like that one.
All right.
Number 2, counting down the days until UNC football season. And number 1, beach trips. Some traditional stuff there with a couple other ones mixed in
Yeah.
as well.
Creative. All right. Dale from Waxhaw, who is a regular. I feel like every time we have a top five, he submits. All right. Number 5, spend as much time outdoors as possible. Number 4, fireworks on 4th of July. Number 3, catching a Charlotte Knights baseball game. That's right. He lives right outside of Charlotte. And number 2, going to the beach. And number 1, lounging by the pool.
Okay. And I'll read
This
for 5. Preston from Greensboro always has jokes, always has some inappropriate answers, which we can't read. So I'm going to have to navigate my way through his answers.
Just read them. Just read them.
Okay, number 5 from
You want me to do
Preston
it?
from Greensboro.
You want me to do it? Or
No,
are you capable of
I
doing
do
it?
not. I do not want you to do it. Number 5, hanging out at the Granville Towers pool, the first day of summer school, before the French foreign exchange students learn the U.S. laws on topless sunbathing. Creative. All right, number 4, football commitment texts.
From
That's
Inside
good.
Carolina.
That's a good one. Safe and appropriate. Number 3, religious discussions with Ross and Don. Okay, number 2, listening to the Scoop podcast. That's encouraged. And I can't say number 1.
Number 1, Ross's mom.
Okay. Don, you're 5.
All right. This was kind of hard for me. Oh crap! I lost. Oh, here they are. All right. Number 5, I guess going to the pool.
Hey, do you have a pool in your community?
I do not.
Okay.
Here's
what pool
here's.
you go to?
I don't really go to a pool.
So why is that one your 5?
I don't know.
Going to the pool. You know.
Here's all right. So here's my problem. Right. I grew up. My grandparents lived not that far away, like 10 minutes away. They used to babysit us when we were growing up. So I spent a lot of time there. They have or had a in-ground pool, 8 feet deep, diving board, all that sort of stuff. A big, huge pool. So I loved it growing up.
Okay.
And I think I'm just pulled out.
Okay. But the nostalgia is kind of why you had that listed.
Yeah. And then, I mean, of course, my kids want me to take them to the pool. So we do. I try to push it off my wife and figure out a way to not have to go. But yeah. All right. Number 4.
How grumpy do you have to be pulled out and not even want to take your kids to the pool?
I mean, I'm just a Grumpy old man, I guess.
Okay.
All right, number 4 is another one. It's like barbecuing. I mean, living in North Carolina, you barbecue year round, basically. I mean, we do, but I guess I guess it's a little bit different because you can eat outside more often and deal with bugs and sweat and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, love baseball. Love going to baseball games around here. Durham Bulls are the local team, I guess. Love going to Durham Bulls. You can get seats for really cheap. Number 2, which probably could be my number 1, just vacation, being able to relax, not have to worry about a whole lot, sleeping in, just lounging, that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. Number 1,
Just being lazy.
yeah, just being lazy. Number
But your
1,
work ramps up though.
it does, but July, hopefully we'll be able.
Yeah.
Well, we're taking vacation in July,
Yeah.
so
July is kind of when Inside Carolina takes vacations.
yeah, yeah,
We might have to cancel Scoop or two.
that's right, that's right. Number 1, big water park guy.
Whoa.
Yes, so maybe with the pool comments, this kind of through the loop. I love water slides. I mean, I love amusement parks, period, but love water slides. Love going to different ones. So yeah.
We
How often did you go? What's that one in Greensboro?
Emerald Point.
Yeah. How often?
We go once a year, once twice a year. I
Okay.
mean, 10 minutes up the road. We should do Emerald Point Day with some subscribers, some Scoop listeners, just grown men, shirtless, sunscreen all over our face, going down water slides at Emerald Point. We used to, I mean, I used to go there. We go there like at least once, maybe twice, 2 times a year. We
Mm-hmm.
always stop up the rafting rides, get
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of the rafts, bunch of the tubes together, and then get like everyone like stopped up on the slide of the big kind of rafting slide, and then we'd all come down at once. You have like 20 rafts
Mm-hmm.
coming down. We'd get some trouble. Tommy
Yeah.
Anton would always get thrown out.
Mm.
Okay,
They're bad boys.
good list. You didn't did you say watching Phillies games?
Well, I said baseball.
Yeah, but I feel like you like Phillies games better than going to
I do, and they're
Wolves
actually
games.
on right now. They're playing the Nationals.
Ooh,
But
daytime game. How
yep,
many games you watched this year?
a baseball.
Philly games.
I mean, almost all of them. So, it's just some way or
Jeez.
another.
How many games have been played, do you think?
Oh man, I have no idea.
50 probably.
I mean, I even they had a West Coast swing, which
Yeah.
obviously means I'm staying up at like 11 o'clock just for first pitch. And
Yeah.
yes, I mean, I even watched all that last week.
You know what, Don? I'm going to be in Philly in about 2 weeks.
What are you doing in Philly?
That's an off the air conversation. But
Go,
I
go.
forgot that you're from there, and I'm going to need some tips.
Okay,
All right. Yeah.
we'll see what I can do.
Love knows no geography. All right. Let's go to mine. Okay. I mean, it's simple. It's water. It's water activities in different forms is kind of what defines my list. Love the summer. I love to travel. Love to go to different parts of North Carolina. I'll start off with the pool. I don't have a pool, but I love going to friends' pools. Love going to sneaking into apartment pools when it's really hot as it gets here and it's so humid. Jumping in a pool is no better feeling. I'll go for beach. Love going to the beach with friends. A couple cold ones on the beach, getting in the water there, just sand beneath your toes, reading on the beach, relaxing on the beach, going there in early morning. But I think the best time is actually like after 6, like 6 to 9, 6 to 8. Some of the best times on the beach. Call it the golden hour when the sun's setting behind you, Don. All right. I'm gonna slip in summer foods. Now I garden a lot. I got a lot of cucumbers coming in right now. Literally about 20 feet from where I'm sitting is
I don't want to know.
a
I don't
massive
want to know
garden.
what you do with those
You a
cucumbers.
big cucumber guy, Don?
I am not.
Okay. Got a lot of big cucumbers here for you. Got tomatoes coming in, basil, herbs. I've
Basil and
got to kind of figure out what to do because some tomato plants aren't growing as big because some have grown extremely tall and blocking out the sun for other ones. I have some pepper plants, but along with that comes with the summer food, BLTs, pesto pasta, a pasta salad. Like you said, kind of the cooking out ribs, barbecue. It's that kind of the summer food that hits a little different because of how fresh it is. I'm making some cucumbers here some pickles with the cucumbers I've made. Maybe I'll deliver some over there to where you live, Don. All right. I mentioned travel, general travel, just kind of getting away, seeing new places is a big one. I'm gonna sneak in an extra one with how long the days are. That's a great thing about summer activities. I guess it's not really an activity, but long summer days going, stays bright until 9. I think today or yesterday was the longest day of the year, Don, summer solstice. So that's always a cool aspect of traveling and taking part in summer activities. And finally, my favorite thing to do is going to the mountains, hiking, and seeing waterfalls and jumping in cool mountain streams off big boulders into pools. I'm a big waterfall guy, and that's a huge part of my summer, going to North Carolina mountains and exploring waterfalls. I consider myself one of the top North Carolina waterfall experts in the world. Don, comments, concerns,
Yes. So
questions?
the waterfall thing was, I probably should have thought about that. I'm nowhere on your level. I'm very, very novice, but yeah, we've done it a couple of times. I've enjoyed it. Also, I am very interested in your garden, not the cucumbers. I don't know where they have been. But I think you split the other herbs and stuff like that. Definitely interested in.
Okay, great stuff. All right, guys, really appreciate y'all listening. That was a lot all across the board. And if you're listening at this point, we appreciate y'all. Definitely check out Johnny T-shirt and gianttshirts.com. Check out all the different scoops. It seems like Don's rolling out interviews with players from these visits and future visits almost every day, if not 2 a day, leading up to this weekend and definitely following the weekend. So make sure you subscribe to Inside Carolina. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you listening to Scoop. Thank you.
Thank you.